Welcome to the 39th annual KFYR-TV Budweiser Bowling Classic, live from Midway Lanes in Mandan. Sponsored by McQuaid Distributing, Lakes Liquor, and your news leader.
Well, 122 bowlers from across the upper Midwest converge on Mandan, North Dakota this weekend right here at Midway Lanes for the 39th annual KFYR-TV Budweiser Bowling Classic presented by McQuaid Distributing and Lakes Liquor. I'm Luke Gamble alongside Brian Gehring, my partner this afternoon, and it has been a good start to the weekend. We started with 122 bowlers, whittled it down to 30 last night, and now we've got our top five. What can you say about just how well this weekend has gone so far?
It's a wonderful event every year, starting with that many and watching everybody, their ups and downs on Saturday and see who comes in on Sunday. And it's a grind this morning. They had their work cut out for them. What
have you seen today about the lane patterns and how guys have kind of played it early on this morning?
This morning there was a lot of people playing some urethane straight up the gutter, and then a kind of mixed bag trying to find a groove to where they could get to the pocket and get through the pins right.
Well, this should be a fun final five. 3 of the 5 have been past champions. The other 2 have competed in the finals here. So how much does that help, knowing that there's so much experience going into this final 5 tonight?
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be really fun to watch. I got a few ideas on how a couple of them are going to play, and that might affect the others on their ball reaction and how well that's going to work for them.
Well, only time will tell, right? It'll be the stepladder finals. Explain to us a little bit about how the stepladder finals work as we lead into number 5 versus number 4 to start things off.
Sure, it's just what it is. Number 5 seed's going to bowl against number 4. The winner of that's going to move on to bowl number 3 till we get down to the champion.
All right, and our number 1 seed today is going to be Blake Wallstrom, but we'll start with the 5, and that's Scott Entersby out of St. Cloud, Minnesota. He won this one in 2018, but he's been in the finals 3 times. What can you say about Scott and just the way he plays, the experience he brings?
Well, the fact that he's done it 3 times kind of gives you an idea. The year that he did win, he was throwing plastic, what we'd consider a spare ball. Super hard, a lot of hand in the ball, get some revolutions on it, so he can control the pocket pretty good.
Just real quick, we've had kind of a 20-30 minute gap. Is there any advantage to being a 5 and being able to just go straight into bowling again?
That's a mixed review from everybody. Most guys will say, give me the 1 game so I got a chance at the title. But some like to try to run the ladder. You do get a little bit of advantage if you can, make that work.
Okay, well, the guy that he will see in the first round, the number 4, Randy Peterson out of Carrington, North Dakota. One of the guys who hasn't won it yet. His 4th finals appearance, he's gotten 2nd twice, so he's oh so close. What's it going to be for Randy to have to get it done today?
Well, Randy's due to win this event. We'll see if he can get around that urethane traffic that's been going down there. You can never count him out. He's got some knowledge and is used to it.
We finished 2nd here back in 2022 to Brady Stearns. We'll see if today is the day that he can get over the hump. Waiting for the winner at number 3 will be Ryan Sandvik from right here in Mandan. He won it in 2014. He's seen success since then, making the finals in 2020. But Ryan's a name that, has done well around here. What can you say about him?
Well, the Sandvik name has done well around here. Ryan's on the left side, and he's throwing, I believe, his grandfather's old bowling ball. So he's got like a 20-year-old hammer that he's throwing. He's on the left side. Blake, he's going to be out there before Blake, who's a left-hander, and he's bowled extremely well all weekend. So,
well, the number 2 will be Josh Kennedy from Blaine, Minnesota. This is his 2nd finals appearance, and he's only competed in our tournament 4 times. So you said it, he's 50-50, a high success rate for this guy.
Absolutely, and he bowls a lot. So as far as like the camera, that might not make him very nervous. He's here to win. That's why he showed up.
All right, and our top seed today, Blake Wallstrom from Bismarck, North Dakota. He won it in 2020, his 2nd finals appearance. Tell us a little bit about Blake and what we can expect him to bring to the lanes today.
Oh, Blake's on the left side with Ryan. So depending on what happens there, if you might have 2 lefties in the championship match. But Blake too, he's bowling a bunch and he's ready for the show.
All right, well, only time will tell as we get set here to begin the stepladder finals of the 39th annual KFYR-TV Budweiser Bowling Classic. Coming up after this, we'll get started with number 5 versus number 4. It'll be Scott Innersby against Randy Peterson to get us started.
Hi. Play.
I didn't.
Michelob Ultra, superior light beer.
Hey, you know you're not actually allowed to drink in a beer commercial?
Since when?
You gotta wait till it's done. Oh,
5,
4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, play for an Ultra?
We're playing for ultras.
Racy for an ultra?
Put an Ultra on.
Before we get into the stepladder finals, coming into today, a cut line of 20 under for the top 30. Is that kind of a number that you expected to see? Did you expect it to see it higher twice? So we said maybe this is the year to kind of get over the hump as they get ready to get started here, and it'll be Scott that starts us off.
Yeah, Randy's due. He's a, I don't want to say old timer, but he's been out here a long time. I remember bowling against him when I was just coming.
All right, that's a good way to take the pressure off, to start with a strike here in the opening frame by Scott Innersby.
That does. That'll loosen up the arm swing, is what you want to do. Because if you miss a couple shots, it'll kind of tighten everything up and you can't get the ball rolling well.
And I'm sure things feel a little bit different. Everyone watching these two lanes and all the TV cameras on, so it feels good to get that first one under your belt.
100% it does. They've been bowling all morning though. We started at 7:30. Once they get their first couple shots out of the way, then the nerves kind of loosen up and they get into it. But yeah, they've bowled 10 games already this morning.
So the way it works, Randy's the 4 seed coming in, so he gets to choose lane choice and who goes first?
Correct. And that's a mixed
I was gonna ask.
question too. There's some guys really like to start first and finish last. And then there's the others that want to play catch up or just be able to lock the match out. And
Right.
I myself prefer to finish and make them have to perform in the last couple frames. Although it's been a lot of years since that's happened.
Right. So both guys get us started with a pair of strikes to start their game, and we talked about it. 3 of the 5 guys that are finalists have won here before, but the list of 2-time winners is pretty short. So, those 3 guys have a chance to join some pretty elite company, with there being just 4 other guys that have been 2-time winners. Maybe adds a little bit of pressure, but it'd be nice to get your name up on those boards a second time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we put the names up on the banners every year.
That's such a cool touch, too. Are they set up in a certain order or anything like that? I see, obviously, Brady Stearns just to the left of 31 here, Chad Nelson to the right of 32.
Yeah, we start with, like, next year then, Brady will stay there, Chad will move over. We do the last 2 years on 31 and 32, and then kind of zigzag them
Gotcha.
across the house. Although now we're running out of space, so we'll start having 3
Right.
on each approach or masking unit.
So Scott Peterson starts with a pair of strikes and follows it up with a spare in the 3rd frame. It's back to Randy Peterson.
And the bowling balls they're using are almost exact opposite. Scott is throwing one of the biggest hooking balls on the market, and Randy's throwing one that isn't what we call as aggressive.
Obviously, I don't want to call him old school. You called Randy old school. Is you know, any part of the ball and his approach kind of play into that old school type, or have you seen him kind of change over the years too?
No, well, he throws it the same as he always has, really good. All of these guys will kind of change their hand positions to get different roll on the ball. What they're watching for is to see how the ball goes through the pins and how they react. There will be times where they'll change a little bit to get it to drive a little harder or not snap so hard. That was a great spare on this that he just picked up. Anytime you have a sleeper on a sport condition like we're bowling on, you pick those up, it's a bonus. That was a pretty good shot. That one's gonna probably frustrate him a little bit.
How have you kind of seen the oil pattern play this weekend for, you know, what these guys are looking at and what they're trying to do?
It's a custom pattern that Tristan designed and came up with. There's some had luck playing outside. It was a little, what we'd say, over-under. If they got it to the right too much, it stayed out there. If you got it a little bit left, it would overhook, you missed the pocket. Right now, I feel like they're trying to play out there because you got a little bit of miss room and you can control the pocket better. And that right there is kind of what I was talking about. You saw the ball start hooking earlier, and then once it comes off that and starts going, it's going to go through the head pin.
And he finds a way to clean it up for a second straight spare. It kind of feels like when you're, you know, you can obviously tell me if I'm wrong, but when you got to start like this with 2 strikes and 2 spares for both guys, it's kind of who's going to make the first mistake, right?
It is, and the way Scott just picked that up, that's not the typical way.
Right.
You know, you want to get the ball on both those pins, but sigh of relief when you do get it like that. That was a really good shot.
Kind of a sigh of relief as he turned around with that one.
Yeah, 'cause they came in with the doubles and then the spares, and that could be a little bit of nerves, or the oil could be moving that much already. So Scott's throwing a bowling ball with a surface that's going to pick up a lot more of the oil. And we'll watch his next shot, because it looked like he tried to stay up the back of it a little bit more on that one to get the ball to roll forward longer. There's a good shot. We got a match. That's one pin.
How much do you expect to see guys changing balls? Do you expect them to change much, or is it just kind of dependent from player to player?
From player to player. When you're in one game like this, when they're doing their warm-up shots, they're really going to narrow it down. Unless something drastic happened, or they're not even close to the pocket, that's when they would maybe think about moving. Ryan Sandvig, though, he's up in the air. When he won, he switched balls in when he only had 3 frames left, I think.
And you mentioned some of these guys will bring, 6-10 balls or something with them on the weekend, right?
Absolutely.
So, there's plenty of options if they want to dive into the bag a little deeper.
There's guys that'll bring 18. My goodness.
So it's a couple of times now that he's gone to that white ball to clean up the spare. So just talk a little bit about what that difference is, changing into that ball to kind of finish things off of the frame.
Sure, it's a polyester or plastic. It just goes straight where you throw it. It won't hook once it gets down towards the pins. That was a pretty good shot.
And you put yourself in a pretty good position there, making another double to kind of keep things rolling, right?
Yes. If he gets another one, then whoever you're bowling, generally they start thinking a lot more, and it forces their hand. It makes it a lot harder to throw a good shot. Oh. I thought that was going to go high, but he got there and left the dreaded 9. That happens when he's got so many revolutions and the ball hooks right past it.
Well, still finds a way to get it done, but that, maybe is a little bit of a sigh of relief for Randy there to see Scott avoid getting, another strike.
Absolutely.
But I guess this
the
is
door
kind of,
hasn't closed.
Yeah, this is kind of where going first or second maybe plays in a little bit more late in the match.
Yes, it can. The general rule of thumb, or used to be, the first person to double has the advantage. Now with the equipment nowadays, there's a great break. Super good break.
Nice little fist pump to go along with it. That's another one of those sighs of relief. Couldn't help but crack a smile after that one.
Absolutely, because as a bowler, nobody hates to see or likes to see a Brooklyn thrown at them, and we don't like to throw them. But that's part of bowling.
You'll take what you can get, right?
Try to capitalize on it, get back up, and try to get 10. And on these conditions, it happens because they're pretty tough. They're looking at boards out there, like 2 or 3 board area. So you pulled that one again.
What's the biggest key for, a situation like this with Randy where you said, hey, you pulled that one again? What kind of adjustment do you make to try to avoid that, especially when you're talking about, hey, you're closing in on the final few frames of a match here?
It's 100% in your head. You have to just try to take a deep breath and loosen the shoulder up. When you pull it like that, you're trying to throw it from the shoulder and it gets tight. And you can't, like there, you saw his arm was loose. He followed through, the ball stayed on line. You got to get that shot out of your head and start over on the next frame. If Scott throws a double here, it's going to make it a little bit harder for Andy to do that. Close, another good shot.
Narrow miss to come up with another 9.
Quick 4-pin. Some of these new bowling balls, they roll really heavy. If you watch it, it's revving and hooking down there, but it has so much energy when it gets to the pins that you can leave some different stuff. And if you notice, these guys are really good at spares.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the reasons they're here right now.
I was gonna say part of the reason they're in the finals.
I guarantee you, there's people on this sheet that bowled yesterday that they can count 50, 60, even 70 pins they could add to their score if, you know, just from spares. They're super important.
It's going to be a little bit tougher to come up with a spare. I mean, that's the lowest number he's had on a first roll so far.
And that's not a spare you really want to be looking at, as he's got the 9 pin back there. So the 369. There's a couple different ways to go at this. Looks like he's going to just throw plastic, and he'll throw it dead right at the 3 pin and try to drive straight back. Oh, you got it.
When you talk about the oil pattern and you guys doing a custom oil pattern here, what's the challenge of that for these guys with it being a custom oil pattern? Is there a harder challenge to that?
Yeah, considerably. It's where we put the oil out on the lane. Like for our regular league bowlers and our house shot, we kind of go off of ratios, so like 12 to 1. And then the higher the first number is, the easier the pattern is. And this would be like a 2 to 1 ratio. So considerably higher. There's a good shot from Andy. That's where they just don't give up. Unless they're mathematically out, they will never quit. And then we work on the pattern for this tournament for about 4 weeks before it to make sure we want to make it fair for both sides. You know, because left-handers can have a distinct advantage over right if, you know, because there's not as many of them, so the lanes wouldn't break down the same.
And I assume you guys change that pattern from year to year. It's never the same, right?
Yes. Yep. Like I said, we like to see the cut number. Where it's at right now is about right. There's another good shot for Andy.
Puts him in a pretty good spot to have a double there this late, huh?
It does. The 9th and 10th frames are some obviously all of them are important, but the 9th would be your load up frame. You get that strike in the 9th and then the double. You just add pins to the score real quick.
So you got the double, but Scott's by no means out of this.
No.
Still in a very good position to still be able to win this one.
There we go. That's gonna seal it. So, not mistaken, Scott's got 222 up there, so Randy's gonna need 7. And he'll be on to the next match.
That's where you kind of like to see the energy and the emotion come out right there. See just how responsive he was to that strike in that moment.
Right, when you heard him say get up, he was wanting it to get to the pocket. Because he knew if he got that, he needs 7 pins. So we got a possibility of a tie.
So he needed 7, cashes in 6.
Oh, Scott throws the next 3, then we're gonna have a roll-off.
Yeah, walk us through what the tie scenario is.
No, I actually have to check our rules, but it's going to be a 9th and 10th frame roll-off, and the higher seed will have the choice to start and what lane they're going to start on. It's got the first one.
So just what Scott Entersby needed. could kind of see him leaning with that one.
Yeah, he thought it was going to go high. It's still a really good shot, I thought. Both of these guys had me speechless. I'm thinking, well, we haven't had that in, I don't know, ever, unless it's been, 20 years ago. Kind of shows you how good they are, though. Scott stepped up and he threw a shot that looked like a pro.
Yeah. And just like that, the first round of the stepladder finals is in the book. We'll be right back after this with the second round of the stepladder finals right here in the 39th annual KFYR-TV Budweiser Bowling Classic on your news leader.
Yep.
Playing for an ultra?
We're playing for ultras.
Race you for an ultra?
Put an ultra on it. Don't forget, there's ultras on the line. I didn't.
Hi. Playing for an ultra? Hey. You're not actually allowed to drink in a beer commercial?
Since when?
You gotta wait till it's done. Oh.
5,
4, 3, 2.
Back to Midway Lanes for the 39th annual KFYR-TV Budweiser Bowling Classic, brought to you by McQuaid's Distributing and Lake Slicker. Luke Gamble here alongside Brian Gehring as we get ready for the second round of the stepladder finals, and it'll be number 4 Randy Peterson, who just won that one against number in 2020, and he's been pretty good all weekend. He was the Saturday high scorer. Had a total of 1933. So what have you seen from him this weekend that's kind of put him in that good of a position?
Well, I don't know. Saturday he was sick. He wasn't feeling well. And maybe that got him relaxed enough because he's been throwing the ball as good as I've ever seen him throw it. He's always been pretty 9% of the time all weekend. But I don't think he fell out of the lead till game 7 today. So,
I was going to say, because you mentioned that there was a chance he would go wire to wire, but
yeah, I would have bet on it because he had a pretty good lead.
And it looks like game 10 he dropped down to a 1.
Won't get pushed around as much. Because with Scott, when he was bowling with him, and you get a little track or line in there, you have to make subtle moves even halfway through the game. And now he may not have to do that.
So if you're someone like Randy, you make it through 1 or 2 rounds, I assume that you're keeping the same rotation, right? You're always going to want to go second. You're probably not going to see a guy.
Yeah. I got confused there too.
See, I threw things off.
Yeah, that's okay. Whoever's coming in, they'll watch the match and see where they think.
A little pair of spares to start here for Randy Peterson out of Carrington, North Dakota. And you said that he's played in some senior PVA tournaments in his time, and so he's outside of the KFYR Classic. He has a ton of experience.
Absolutely. Traveling around some PBA regionals. He bowls a lot. Most of these guys do. Ryan, I don't think travels as much as he used to. He's got a young family, so he's got the kids. But everybody else that's on the show today, that's what they're doing on their weekends in the winter.
Yeah.
That was a good shot. That's what we've seen out of them all weekend.
And once you get that first one under your belt, then maybe it eases things up a little bit, obviously.
Watching the ball, when you get that reaction that you're used to seeing, he gets a thump in there too if you hear that when he rolls the ball. So I don't know if he's catching part of his thumb hole or finger holes, or if the ball's that old. It's making that. There's a break.
Well, a nice double to get the second, third frame. Was it Ryan that you mentioned is throwing the really old ball?
Yes.
Okay.
I believe it's his grandfather's. bowling ball. When I mentioned the pedigree of his family, his grandfather, and then of course Dwayne Sandvik, his dad,
Right.
is one here. Him and Jack used to travel around the country and bowl. Dwayne bowled this weekend too. He didn't make the cut, but he's been bowling really well this season.
And an answer from Randy, but Ryan has quite the support staff going here in the front row with all of his family here. But like you said, they're well known for their prominence at the alley, right?
Very much so. Well, his dad, I don't know where his dad's at. His mom's here, and his wife and kids. Dwayne might be in the lounge having some ice cream. There's some little frustration setting in there. That tells me that he threw it really good, so he was happy with it when it left his hand. That's just a bad break.
Maybe a little surprised at the outcome.
That's where you just take the lumps and try to run the spare over and start over in this next frame.
Well, whenever you talk about a matchup like this where you have a right-hander going against a left-hander, what is that? Is there anything to that? Is there anything that you can look for in differences, or, you know, obviously kind of using different lane patterns and that kind of thing?
Oh, like when we design the lane patterns?
Oh, I'm just, you know, are they, because they're using different spots on the floor and in the lane, right? So, does it change anything for the bowlers themselves?
It's beneficial for the both of them.
Okay.
Because there's no traffic other than your own while you're in this match. So, like when Randy was bowling against Scott, Scott was throwing a really aggressive bowling ball that actually sucks oil up and it moves it around a lot more. So Randy has to watch his reaction to make sure he's not catching any of those spots. Now where Ryan is not even close to the right side, so if Randy gets a line, chances are it's going to stay there a lot longer. Ryan's getting pretty relaxed now.
Just had to get that first frame out of the way, right?
Well, yeah, and as we're bowling, as bowlers, we feel if we have an open frame, you want to follow it up with at least a double. Three in a row, even better, because now you made up for that open to keep you on the plus side.
And I was looking at some things this morning and last night, and Ryan actually rolled a perfect game in 2013 at the KFYR Classic.
Oh, yeah, that I did not remember. We got some records, but...
Did that, and then 2014 he won the whole thing, so... Like we said, there's only been 4 guys who have won this 2 times, but he could add his name to that list this weekend.
There's a veteran shot right there.
Well, he was frustrated from the last one, right? The way it played out, so you take your break and come back and answer with a strike that has to feel good coming back with that kind of response.
Yeah, exactly what you need. That's it. You hit the pocket as good as you can. When the ball splits the 8 and 9 pins, you know you're right where you need to be. Looks like he pulled that one a little bit.
And Randy's had, I mean, like we just said, he's had some good bounce back frames, but it's kind of been a little inconsistent getting there to the end, right?
Yep. Well, you start to want to force, a shot to happen, and then that's usually the result. Try to get 2, save the count, and then hope Ryan gives him a little. He went for it. Got 3.
Pretty good follow-up to end up with 9 there.
Yeah.
How challenging is that to come out with 3 of those 4 pins when you're put in a position like that?
Doesn't happen much, to be honest. That's what I said. He's gonna roll, get 2, stick with the count, and he went for it. So that tells me he might be a little frustrated. Got the break there.
I was gonna say he was kind of leaning with that one, like he may have left it out too far.
Well, yeah, I think he was hoping it wouldn't go too high. So the farther he sends it out, the more dry boards he's going to catch, the harder it's going to hook back.
That's 4 strikes in the last 5 frames for Ryan Sandvik now, as he goes into the 7th frame.
If he puts another one up here, he'll force Randy to start. Won't necessarily be a sigh of relief for Randy, but it opens a door that's going to make him feel a lot more comfortable with the next shot.
Ryan knocks down 2 out of the 3, so like you said, 4 frames left to make something happen for Randy. But you mentioned earlier, you know, how much of a mental aspect there is to this, especially when you find yourself down really big. I can only imagine that grows more and more late in the match.
It does. It's hard to explain, but your head's spinning and you're trying to say, well, should I do this? Should I do that?
Right.
Your shoulder gets tight. You're squeezing the ball. Like right there by the wonderful break.
Time and time again, he seems to find an answer at the right time, right?
He does.
Gets himself out of a tough situation.
Catching that Brooklyn right there, I look for his next shot to be pretty good. Would be my guess after watching him all these years. The dreaded 210, that's that oil pattern and how we I said we designed that. So he threw it okay, but if you saw the ball kind of got too far to the right and he got that out of bounds area and the ball just doesn't have time to get back to the pocket.
Now if you're Randy, you're kind of leaning on hoping that Ryan makes a mistake, right?
100%. The spare's makeable. These guys are pretty good. That spare's easier than the 3 that he got on the 6 split. This game's in Ryan's hands right now. Ball in hand.
And Josh Kennedy will be the one on the other side waiting as the number 2 seed for the winner in this matchup.
Still just stay relaxed and pick up the spare.
And he kind of held as he was looking there like he was going to get that last one to fall.
Right, he was waiting because he had a cluster over there hoping one of them would roll. That's the light shaker hit, we call that. Take a minute, collect yourself, make a good shot.
I mean, You've bowled in this 20 plus years.
Yes.
So, I mean, you can kind of speak to the pressure that comes along with it, especially when you talk about, you know, a check sitting right there on the table and a trophy and that kind of thing. But, you know, we keep bringing up these guys having to relax or having to, you know, kind of settle in. Great timely strike there, but I'm sure it's hard to kind of convey that, right?
It is, because it's a different feeling. Once you have a couple of shots in, that you forget about the camera, and then when I say try to relax, it's don't think about the open frame. Don't, you know, start making sure you fill frames. So they're not necessarily worried about the show at this time. They're worried about winning the match. I think he popped that one again. I think some frustration has set in there on Randy, and
once you get to this point, it's hard not to, right? And
yeah,
I know that he joked about it, but I'm sure for him, you know, making a fourth finals and getting that close time and time again, there's probably some frustration with that too.
Well, especially because he knows how hard it is to get to this point in the day, you know. 66, it's pretty close. Ryan's just gonna need to fill some frame 10, and looks like he's gonna be your winner, but stranger things have happened.
We've already had some strange things happening today, almost having to go to a roll-off in that first stepladder final.
Randy's got 185 max up there. That's when the game just kicks you, because he threw a really good shot there, and then the ball hooked past that 9.
Well, that's at least twice that we've said that he's thrown a really good shot. Maybe the return hasn't been what he's wanted, and you've kind of seen the expression on his face when he's turned around.
That's frustrating. So max a 174 if he strikes. Ryan's 156 with a strike up plus the count, so Ryan's gonna move on to face Josh Kennedy, and we'll have another right hand against a left.
Do you like seeing that matchup, knowing that it's different?
Yeah, it's fun. Well, Josh is gonna, if my guess is, he's gonna throw urethane. He's gonna play it even further out to the right, hooking it less. Ryan seems to be, you know, what we call hooking the whole lane. And Josh, today what he's been doing is urethane far right, a lot of speed and a lot of revolutions on the ball. Ryan, there he knew he had some free frames, so he switched to reactive right there.
Is this a chance to kind of play around with some things and figure out, you know, if you've got to do something a little different, you know,
Absolutely.
try to test those kind of things?
Because you know you've got the match in hand,
right.
So you can throw a shot. Because Josh is going to come in and get 2 shots on each lane, but Ryan, you know, just got off of there, so now is his time. And that looked, to me, pretty good. So if he throws another one and gets that reaction, I'm thinking he's going to want to switch to reactive.
Well, at this point, your score doesn't matter. You've already won the match, and that's, you know, all that matters is having 1 pin more than the next guy, right? So
exactly.
It doesn't hurt you to mess around and test some new things in this situation. going to be a 194 for Ryan Sandvik to close out the second round of the stepladder finals. And it'll be Ryan Sandvik moving on to the third round of the stepladder finals against Josh Kennedy from Blaine, Minnesota. We'll get to that round right after this in the 39th annual KFYR Budweiser Bowling Classic.
Hi. Play.
Well, welcome back to Midway Lanes for the 39th annual KFYR-TV Budweiser Bowling Classic, the stepladder finals, the third round as Josh Kennedy takes his final couple of warm-up shots. He'll take on Ryan Sandvik, the Mandan native who just won with a 194 over Ryan Peterson. And Josh Kennedy, tell me a little bit about what you know about him, what he's kind of done so far this weekend.
He's kind of steady Eddie is what we'd call it. Today he made a really hard run with the match play, and he's proven me wrong because I figured he was going to throw urethane, but he's got a very aggressive reactive that he hooked the whole lane with a minute ago. So I don't know his game super good. I know that he bowls every weekend if he can. Out in Minnesota, they run quite a few events. If I'm not mistaken, there was a tournament in New Mexico not that long ago that he was at and either made the TV show or came close. And that was with some PBA players out there also.
Well, his second finals appearance here in Mandan. He's only competed in this tournament 4 times, and we talked about it at the beginning of the show, a high success rate for him.
Yeah, he's 50-50 coming here. He was in Minot last weekend. There was an event up there. I went in and I was dropping my equipment off, and I said, "Hi, Josh, how you doing?" He's like, "I'm here to win." I said, "Okay."
That's the mindset to have.
That's a good attitude.
And he could become a first-time winner here today, but he's got to get through Ryan Sandvik first, and then Blake Wallstrom, the number 1 seed, waiting for the winner of this one. Waiting in the wings. Blake, a winner here, decided to use here. Why is that? Why do you think maybe he made the selection that he did?
I don't
Not
know,
sure.
to be honest. He's been throwing a black urethane hammer all day, hard up the gutter. And he must have been watching with Randy and Scott and saw something. He's deep inside the lane and throwing a pretty aggressive bowling ball.
Well, a pair of 9s on both first rolls so far for Josh Kennedy. Finished out with a spare in that first frame to follow up Ryan Sandvik's strike to start the match.
He's got the spare. I'm going to reset lane 32 there. That 10 pin fell over. Must have been scared, didn't want to get hit. For the right-handers, that's the pin that we leave the most, and then for left-handers, it'd be the 7.
Right. Well, when you talk about now that we're getting deeper into these stepladder finals, and obviously these lanes have been rolled on all day, I mean, how quickly can these lanes change, during a match, between these matches, as there's, more or less rolling going on?
Sure. They can change quite a bit, especially later in the day, because the oil can kind of dissipate. And you can take an area, and there's times where
Another strike there for Josh Kennedy. I mean, that's a good double to follow up 2 spares to start.
It is, and if you saw the look on his face there, that's pure determination. He's in a zone, and that's maybe what prompted Ryan to do that. He can tell that he might not have many chances to miss, because that last shot from Josh, I haven't seen him do that all day with the bowling ball.
Maybe something different clicks when he gets to finals, and you're at this point.
Well, and these guys that are doing this every weekend, you know, they're able to switch lines on the drop of a hat. They're not scared to try to grab another ball and make a big move like that.
And it looks like Josh Kennedy was last weekend did pretty well qualifying wise. He didn't make the show in Minot, but you know, you said last weekend, he said, I'm here to win. Obviously did not make the show, and then come this weekend and make the show here in Bismarck. I'm sure there is a determination factor there.
Yeah, coming from out in the cities both weekends, you want to make sure you're making cuts for one, and making shows helps a lot.
Yeah, right.
Ryan saw something on 31 because he threw plastic again. So there must be a spot out there that he's concerned about hitting, and that plastic rolls right through it. That's a pretty good shot at.
3 in a row for Josh Kennedy, the first that we've seen of that in this match. And kind of feels like maybe he's hitting his rhythm a little bit, hitting his stride after getting through those first couple of frames.
I was just going to say that he looks pretty comfortable. He's hooking the whole lane. And like I said, I didn't see that hardly all day out of anyone. So that gives him a little bit more room to miss. And he's throwing a really aggressive bowling ball. So it's a bigger asymmetrical core, which basically just means it's a bigger motor inside the bowling ball.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a pretty solid run for Josh Kennedy here in the middle of the match. And if you're Ryan Sandvik in this position, I mean, obviously he's been playing well too, but, you know, what are you telling yourself mentally right now in terms of seeing that, you know, on the other side?
You're telling yourself must strike.
Yeah.
Must. Because Josh is what we would call lined up. That means he's not. Ryan's not going to expect him to miss the rest of the game.
Well, and that's just what Ryan did, right? I mean, you answer with a strike, and he's staying with that.
He's throwing a spare ball. He's throwing a spare ball and doing it very well. Scott Ennersby did win with the spare ball the year that he. Got that inside a little bit.
I was gonna say, what did you see there on the miss? Because he ends with 7 on that frame. Still a good chance for a spare here, but
looked like he tried to maybe put a little bit more hand in it. And with plastic, you'd need to do that to get it to go through him right. But I think he just caught it a little bit too much. Oh, right there too. Whew, there you go. Sigh of relief.
That's what you call a lucky break, right?
Yeah, it was.
Even he scratched his head when he turned around, kind of like he knew what he got out of that.
Not the textbook way to do it.
Hey, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how it gets done, right? It's just the number of pins that falls.
Exactly. I joke with the guys, our crew on Wednesday night. I mean, I'll go up and throw 2 Brooklyns. Tom Job throws way more than the rest of us out there. But I said, I'll take 12 of them and be happy with it. Almost the 710. That's where that big motor and that bowling ball comes into play. They hook a lot, but they're so aggressive, and they still look like they're going to hook and go through the pins hard, but they actually lose energy as they're going down the lane.
Well, and even just one frame without a strike is probably a little bit of pressure off the shoulders of Ryan Sandvik sitting there, knowing the window is closing, but knowing that maybe there's going to be a spare here, and that kind of helps him out a little bit.
There's some hope, yes. Ryan's got a little deficit to come back from here. If Josh spares again, Ryan tried to throw the double up, put some pressure on him. We'll look for Josh Kennedy to hit the pocket here, though he's pretty much used to this situation.
Just what he needed at the right time.
If you notice, when he's done throwing this shot, he stays there. He doesn't move, and when you do that, he's threw it well. Just like when you hit that perfect golf shot and you kind of post it and hold it. That's the same thing with bowling right there, and he's really solid at the line.
Seeing it through all the way.
It's a must strike here for Ryan. There you go.
And again, it's a couple of times that you've said you got to get a strike if you're going to stay in it at this point. He's been able to come up with one.
Yes.
But that's probably a bit of that experience factor, right? He's played a lot of big tournaments like this in this situation.
Ryan's pretty competitive. He doesn't like to lose.
It seemed like as soon as he let go of that one, he knew something was off on it.
He did, yeah. He was leaning. I thought it looked good off his hand, and that's possibly why he went to plastic with that ball. There's got to be a portion of the lane up front that the ball picks up and. You got the spare. Josh can put a double up here. That is going to kind of put him in the driver's seat. Wonderful shot.
I was going to say, you saw him hold it through again, and now, correct me if I'm wrong, but as he kind of get into the spot where it's like, okay, once you seal the win, then you can kind of start looking ahead to what can I do differently on these lane patterns, or if there's anything I need to change and that kind of thing.
Right, he could. With the look that he has right now, he might just in case, because it's looking like he's going to take on Blake, and Blake's again on the left side. So whatever Josh has going on right now I don't think it'll change much. He's actually moved left since we've started and been creeping into the middle of the lane some more, so that tells you that he's searching.
Yeah.
He's seeing how far left he can go and then how far right he can miss, and it looks like he's got quite a bit of it right now. He did exactly that. You called it. He grabbed a different ball and
Ends up with another strike.
Last ball. I'll fire your tape long too.
no, he will.
Josh said that was just for you, Ryan, after that rule. Picking up a different ball.
They're razzing each other a little bit.
You gotta have a little fun at this point, right? Man, just a great game here from Josh Kennedy.
That was.
And that's gonna seal things up for him. So now we're just a few rolls away from seeing Josh Kennedy go into the final round of the stepladder finals here, and it'll be Blake Wallstrom, the Bismarck native. That's the 1 seed waiting on the other side. And we talked about this a little bit, but you know, if you're the guy that's the 1 seed, you've been waiting around for an hour or so. I'm assuming you're going to tell me the same thing. Some people like that and some people don't.
They do, yeah. The main thing is Blake knows the worst he can do is second.
Right.
Right? Because they're all looking for that trophy, the check, and the title.
Right.
Because that's part of the, the bowler of the year with the events that they're all traveling around, trying to collect points to be the best bowler in the state.
And that'll do it. A 258 for Josh Kennedy. On the other side, it's a 201 for Ryan Sandvik. Kennedy will advance to the final round of the stepladder finals of the 39th annual KFYR-TV Budweiser Bowling Classic against Blake Wallstrom. That's coming up next right here on your news leader.
Hi. Play for an ultra? Hey, you know you're not actually allowed to drink in a beer commercial?
Since when?
You gotta wait till it's done. Oh.
5,
4, 3, 2.
Don't forget, there's ultras on the line. Woo! I didn't.
You gotta go find 2 of them.
Welcome back to Midway Lanes for the 39th annual KFYR-TV Budweiser Bowling Classic, brought to you by McQuaid's Distributing and Lake Slicker. Luke Gamble alongside Brian Gehring as we gear up for the final round of the stepladder finals here at Midway Lanes, and it's going to be Blake Wallstrom, the number 1 seed. He is from Bismarck, North Dakota, taking on the 2 seed Josh Kennedy from Blaine, Minnesota. Josh just put together a great game, 258 to get into this final round. But let's talk a little bit about Blake Wallstrom. He won this event back in 2020, defeated Eric Parvey to win his 2nd finals appearance, so he's got some experience and got a chance to join some elite company as a 2-time winner here. But just kind of tell us a little bit about Blake and what we can expect to see here.
Well, again, he's on the left side. He's got a purple hammer in his hand. He did just switch to Brunswick equipment. He's actually a staffer, is what we would call it, for Brunswick. No stranger to high-pressure moments. He's moved down here, so he's at home. This is his home bowling center. He's got his work cut out for him, though. Josh just came off a 258, so he's got to be feeling really good. first shot might tell us. Because he looked pretty solid right there.
I was going to say, Blake came in and chose to go first as opposed to going second like we've seen a lot of these other guys do. So maybe you get that first strike under your belt and you're off to the races. But you said you felt like that was a really good role for him to start.
Yeah, it was. It was as solid as you can throw a bowling ball. And if you notice, he's not hooking it as much as Ryan was. That's where he can control that angle into the pocket a little bit more.
Josh Kennedy opens with an 8 in the first frame.
And if you saw him, what he did with his hands there when he was pushing down, there he's telling himself to slow down. He might be a little adrenaline going from that first match. And so if you throw it a little bit too hard, you can throw the ball through the break point. So,
and then you've got that little bit of break between matches. He was walking around over here. Maybe you're kind of taking in everything around you and realizing what it's building up to.
Mm-hmm. He kind of moves a lot, though. Like last night when he got done, we were heading out, and he was in the pro shop. He was working on some covers, changing some things. And see if we can regroup.
Once you get to this final match, I mean, you get out to a fast start and kind of get that momentum on your side.
Obviously, striking, you're always putting that pressure on your opponent. So the fast start is huge. He stepped back, bounced back right there with that one, and he flushed 10 back. So both of these guys, the only thing in their head right now is, I don't want to miss again.
Easier said than done.
It is. That's a little bit of a bad break there. He got a little bit high in the pocket. Even the 6-8, which is the equivalent to the 4-9 on the right side.
When we talked about getting your name up there on the banner, if you look just over Blake's left shoulder here on lane 29, that's where his name is from winning in 2020. I'm sure he would certainly be welcome to the idea of adding his name up there again.
Oh, he's got a chance. What a good shot. That's a huge momentum builder right there.
Kind of feels like he's bringing a different energy than maybe the other 4 guys that we've seen, bowling here.
He is, for sure. His brother's over there with him in his ear. He might be helping him a little bit. But even if you're Josh now, you were thinking he had an open frame. So for him to pick that up now it's pretty fun to watch. Did not faze him, though.
And that's kind of important, right? I mean, we talk about the mental aspect of yourself, but you also have to not worry too much about obviously you got to know what the other guy's doing, but you got to not put too much pressure on yourself in terms of worrying about what they've done on the other side.
Right. There's people that'll go out there and bowl a match and not even look at the scoreboard or watch their opponent bowl. They try to keep it, just focus on their shot and their game. He's not letting up. But you are right, both of these, this match feels different, doesn't it? They have some intensity that's flowing down there.
Just seems to be a little bit more pop when they come back, turn around from down the lane after they've rolled their shot. A little bit more energy.
Well, they're both throwing it really good, and they know it. They're like, this is our chance. And it's the build-up from the weekend. This is the finale.
Right, this is what you've worked, you know, all weekend to get to.
And he got out a little bit. That's what we would call a flat 7 or a weak 10. When that 4 kind of goes in the gutter and wiggles, tells him he didn't get the ball to start up soon enough.
When if you're Josh Kennedy, you've got to be happy to see a couple of frames here where there might be spares to give you some wiggle room to kind of work up, right?
Or get up, throw 2 more, and put some serious pressure
Blake,
on him.
yeah. Definitely.
And when the momentum's with you, it frees everything up. It just makes it so much easier. And then the contrary, when it's not, it makes you feel like you're in jail. Pulled that one in a little bit.
I'm gonna say the last couple of rolls, the reaction has been much.
Missed that one quite a ways to the right, and you heard him. When you hear a bowler yell their own name out when they throw the ball, I think he said, "Oh, Josh." That. Let's see if he's gonna go for the spare. He's gonna try to hit to the left of the 3 and throw it over into the 6-10, or just go for count. So
it's like he kind of went for count there. I mean, how do you make that decision though? Yeah.
The only time you'd really want to try to pick that up is if it's a must-have spare. The game's basically tied now, so he's just going to try to step up, get him started again in the 10th. You can tell the seasoned players when they do things like that.
Instead of going for gold, kind of pick your spots, right?
Not like me when I'm on a par 5 at 280 and I think I'm going to make the green.
Driver off the deck.
Only in scrambles. Another good shot. I just kind of picked up a little more than I think he was expecting, or he might have got off to the side of that one a little bit more.
Well, it's kind of one of those things where Josh had an opportunity, right, to kind of jump out in front a little bit more, and now he's, you know, ended up with a empty frame and a chance at a spare, so
right, and then
ebbs
Blake,
and flows.
It does. Except Blake puts up a double, then the pressure turns over to Josh.
Yeah. Got to be, you know, at least happy that you walk away with a spare there instead of, you know, having another empty frame.
Right.
You can kind of see Josh back here telling himself to relax maybe a little bit.
Well, that adrenaline gets flowing here, especially. Yeah. I mean, he was striking a lot, and then he had those 3 in a row, and it's easy to throw one a little bit harder or get a little bit extra rotation on the ball. But Blake can really bring this to a 1-pin match here with the strike. Looks pretty good. Oh. Wrap 7 there. That one will frustrate him because that was a pretty good shot.
When if you're Blake, you kind of have to hope this next turn is gonna result in a strike, right? Because the frustration probably builds a little bit when you haven't had one for a bit.
It does, and then when you make a good shot like that and you're not rewarded, it might make you want to try to force the ball in there when you just want to go up, repeat it, It's kind of a funny game that way. You can hit the pocket perfect, and there's times it tells you, nope, it's not going to happen. It's making for a good match, though.
Right.
Fun to watch.
The entirety of the finals has been fun to watch, starting with that first one that came down to the final frame.
The tie would have been fun.
He didn't like that one right off the drop.
Not at all. Hey. It was going right off of his hand. You can tell he didn't get it projected out. And he chopped that one off. It's a small split, but it was one of the hardest ones to pick up sometimes, especially in a situation like that. When he had the 7 count in the 5th and he picked it up when I said, you know, that's not the textbook way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
If the 4 pin would have been in there again, he would have got it.
It's a good window of opportunity for Josh Kennedy, certainly. Is there anything that you're seeing that maybe has kind of led to this run on spares and not being able to cash in strikes?
I'm not. I would have to say maybe they're squeezing it a little because they're...
Mm-hmm.
As far as lanes changing or anything, I don't see anything there. It could be just a little bit of pressure because we're down to a few frames. Josh is making quality shots from what I can see here. He doesn't seem to be pulling anything or...
Back-to-back spares for Kennedy now as he heads into the 8th frame.
Yeah, he's taking a little extra minute, so he's either trying to slow the heart rate down or thinking about moving something a little. Almost the 4-9 there.
Still the strike stays out of reach for these two. Almost seems unusual that at this point that we've gone on this long of a run without seeing a strike with the way the guys have been playing leading into this match.
Yeah, the way they started, I thought we were going to have a 250 to 250 match. It changed really quick. Now, you know, if Blake can get that double, it's advantage Blake. Got the spare.
Just what you need to finish out that frame, but still, I mean, there's not really leaning one way or the other right now because there's plenty of window of opportunity for both of these guys.
Yeah, Blake's gonna want to for sure double here.
Will answer.
Got it to come off the wall.
His first strike since the second frame. I'm sure that one felt a little better.
Unbelievably better, because he knows if he can put this one up, then the game's not over.
Kind of feels like both of these rolls, he's kind of taking an extra second to
take those
breathe
deep breaths.
and yeah.
And if you notice, the players kind of do the same routine over and over. It gets you just a pre-shot routine.
There it is. The double that he was searching for. So he gets his first strike since the second frame and takes the double to go along with it. I mean, did you feel like anything was different for him there in those two frames?
Well, the eighth frame, he hit it a little light, and when it comes off the wall and it carries that strike, it really gets you feel like you got a break there. So in the ninth, when he stepped up, as soon as that came off his hand, I figured that's good. It was really good. And you can tell when every pin flies off the deck. See if Josh can answer it. Yep, and he did. This is one thing these guys are really good at. It turns into a fight at the end.
Yeah. That's what makes it so much fun too, right? For us. Sure it's fun for them looking back at it. I don't know if in the moment the pressure is all that fun, but
yeah, because now I don't think they're in the pressure. Now they're in survival mode.
Yeah,
he just did it. I got the pressure on him. So
Josh Kennedy looking to be a first-time winner here in the KFYR Budweiser Bowling Classic.
If he throws three, then Blake's gonna be runner-up.
And now if you're...
Oh, wait a minute. No, my math's off. 60.
Nonetheless, double for Josh Kennedy to answer the double of Blake Wastrom. So going into this 10th frame, trying to put up as many big numbers as you can. There it is.
Pretty good shot. He knew that. So he needs 7-8. You can see Blake taking a breath over there and a little bit of a sigh. That's the worst spot to be in when you're bowling a match like this, when somebody else finishes first.
Oh, but Blake did choose that, right?
Correct.
I mean, he was the one seed. He got to choose lane choice and who goes first, and he decided he wanted to go first. Came out with that first strike of the match.
And there it is.
Great execution down the stretch from Josh Kennedy. Closing things out, and now the pressure flips to Blake Wastrom. So not quite as big of a number for Josh Kennedy in this match as the first one. He finished with a 258 in that first match.
Right. It was enough though, because he's got that 223. That's where that count was so important.
Right.
On that 7 and 2, because that was the 2 pins. Josh can go 220, or not Josh, Blake.
Blake, yeah.
And then those 2 pins were just that extra count. If he goes and throws at that 7 and tries to get that split and misses it, could have been a tie game.
Right. And you can kind of tell on Blake Wastrom's face too.
Yep, the look of
so close when you come in as the 1 seed, and
then your brain goes back to thinking that baby split that he only took 1 off of. It's, for us as bowlers, we kind of feel like it should be an automatic spare. But he still performed well this weekend. You got to the show. Everyone's more experienced.
so it's going to be Josh Kennedy, the winner of the 39th annual KFYR-TV Budweiser Bowling Classic. He puts up a 223 in the final round of the stepladder finals against Blake Wallstrom, who finishes with a 217. And after this, we'll present the check for $2,500 to the winner, Josh Kennedy, and visit with the top 5 right here on your news leader.
Hey, you know you're not actually allowed to drink in a beer commercial?
Since when?
You gotta wait till it's done. Oh,
5,
4, 3, 2, 1. Hi. Play for an ultra?
For an ultra?
Put an ultra on it. Don't forget, there's ultras on the line. I didn't.
You know you're not actually allowed to drink in a beer commercial?
Since when?
You gotta wait till it's done. Oh,
5,
4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back to Midway Lanes for the 39th annual KFYR-TV Budweiser Bowling Classic. Another one in the books. Obviously, we had a few tight contests. The first one and the last one of the stepladder finals was pretty fun. Those in between just as fun. But what did you see today that really stood out and was the ultimate determining factor in Josh Kennedy walking away the winner?
The change that he made when he got on the TV pit. Like I said, I haven't seen him do that all day. And then he must have saw something with reaction, and he just jumped in and let it rip.
Well, you said you saw him in Minot last week, and he said he was determined to win. Didn't get it done there, but I'm sure winning here and winning that $2,500 check was pretty nice. So we're going to start by bringing in the top 5 here with Scott Innersby, who finished 5th. Scott, we're going to get you to come over here and get your check. Scott from St. Cloud, Minnesota, and a pretty good run here today. Obviously making it to the TV show. What did you see? How did you feel like that game went? Obviously, it went down to the wire. You guys were close to having a roll-off.
I'm just happy to have a clean game on that. I mean, Randy beat me, and yeah, it's a little frustrating, but you know what? I'm happy to be on the show again, so that's, you know, I obviously could have threw a little bit better shots. The lanes were a little tight, but I don't know. Here's what it is. Can't win them all.
Well, another finals appearance for Scott, his 3rd finals appearance, and there's your check. Congratulations, Scott. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
And in 4th place, it was Randy Peterson from Carrington, North Dakota. He rolled a 222 in that electrifying first game. You said, I want to roll off. You wanted to roll off.
I didn't really mean it, but...
Well, the second game you finished with a 170, but take us through that first game against Scott. I mean, that one had to be a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. That first game, I actually didn't do the math right. And I thought when I had 6 count there, I thought I had him shut out. But then I looked at the score and I go, oh no, he can strike out and get me. So I thought, yeah, it's tie me. So I thought he was probably going to do that, but fortunately.
Your 4th finals appearance, so you finished 2nd twice and now a 4th place finish. Next year, what's the key?
Make the top 5, maybe be the tournament leader. Let's try that next year.
All right, we'll see. Well, thanks, Randy.
I got to give a shout out, though. Okay?
Yeah.
Yesterday, I was kind of lost for a little bit, but Nikki Herzrud come up to me and says, hey, just move 5 left and look at the same target. And I did that, and the lane really opened up for me. So I told her I was going to give her a shout out if I got on TV. So.
Perfect. Well, congratulations. 4th place going to Randy Peterson. And in 3rd place, finalists from Mandan, North Dakota, Ryan Sandvik. Ryan had a really good weekend. He was the Saturday high scorer. Came into today, rolled a 194 in the first round of the finals, 201 in the second round. And we talked a lot about this, but you played a lot with a spare ball in that second match. What was the change, and how did it help or hurt you?
Well, you know, a lot of that urethane stuff I was throwing from the late 80s, you know, that just, it checks up right away and it goes to the mid lane a little bit too much, you know, and I need something that could just hook and set up for that head pin, and you know, that's really all I had. You know, Tristan was supposed to drill me up a purple hammer, and that didn't happen. But, you know, I'm not going to throw him under the bus for that. But Tristan had a lot going on this weekend. But, yeah, it was a fun weekend, great weekend. Thanks for KFYR and Budweiser. It was a great weekend. Had a lot of fun.
A great weekend for you. Congratulations on third place, Ryan Sandvik. And Blake Wallstrom, he finishes in second place, came in as the top seed into the stepladder finals, bowls a 217 in that final match. Brian, we'll get you to present the runner-up trophy here to Blake. Blake, you started out with 2 strikes. You chose to go first, started out with 2 strikes, then you had a run of spares. What kind of happened in that game that you saw and liked or didn't like?
Yeah, they're just really tricky, and I got fooled because I threw a couple good ones, and then they started reading a little early. And I just didn't make the adjustment quick enough. It took too long, and got away from me. So.
What did you see on the other side from Josh winning it?
He just threw good shots. You know, you're just out there trying to throw the best shot you can, and can't really control what the other guy does. He just threw him better that time.
All right. Well, let's present the runner-up trophy to Blake Wallstrom, finishing in second place here at the 39th annual KFYR-TV Budweiser Bowling Classic. Thank you so much, Blake. Great job this weekend. And a first-time winner, Josh Kennedy from Blaine, Minnesota. His second finals appearance. He's competed in this tournament 4 times, and the 4th time is a charm. He rolls a 258, then rolls a 2.
All day on this pair, and it was hooking at my toe. So my thought was, no one's really touched the inside too much. I can get away with slow rolling the ball if I really have to and getting left. Having part of the lane that no one else was playing. Then, other than that, it was just trusting the process, one shot at a time, just filling
place in the KFYR Bowling Classic.
Honestly, it's surreal. Just the fact that I came out here, all I just tried to do was make cut, really. I knew scores would be up on the second day, so my answer was just to keep where it was in front of me focused.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, Josh. We'll get the presentation of the championship trophy here and the $2,500 check as Josh takes home $2,500 in first place of the KFYR Budweiser Bowling Classic 39th annual. Congratulations, Josh. And real quick, just final thoughts from you, Brian. Another one in the books. Obviously, we had some exciting finals matches, but what can you say about the 39th one being in the books here at Midway Lanes?
Well, it's fantastic. 39, next year's 40 years. We'll have to come up with something special for that. It's a fun weekend every year. Get to see everybody, some new faces. And then the scores are getting, you know, a little bit higher. We'll see. We might have to make them a little tougher next year.
All right. Well, we'll see how that one goes. And that'll do it for us here at Midway Lanes for the 39th annual Budweiser Bowling Classic as Josh Kennedy takes home the title, rolling a 258 and a 223 to win it for the first time ever. That's it here from Midway Lanes in Mandan. Thanks for joining us on the 39th annual KFYR-TV Budweiser Bowling Classic.
Thank you for watching the 39th annual KFYR-TV Budweiser Bowling Classic, sponsored by McQuaid Distributing and Lakes Liquor, and your news leader.